Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the relaunch of the Her Game 2 podcast series. I'm your host Clayton, and as you can see, I'm not joined by Kaz today. I'm not joined by Leah. I'm joined by Sal. Sal, how are you?
Hiya, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
All good, all good. Thanks for jumping on. Let's start with a bit about you. First question, nice and easy one. Who do you support?
Sutton United.
Sutton United. I like it. Are you from that part of the UK?
I am. I was born here.
Good.
I say here
Nice,
because I'm
support your
still here.
local. All right. So, okay. Well, I feel like I know the answer to this then. So, how did you become a Sutton fan then?
I think I did something bad in a previous life.
Yeah.
As I say, I was born in Sutton. I grew up in Sutton. It's a funny one actually. I kind of got into football. I got passionately into football, just quite suddenly when I was like 13 years old, and no one in my family liked football. My parents just hate football. My brother's not at all interested in football. I went to a girls' school, and in the 90s, girls at my school were just not interested in football. I'm glad that's changed now. But I just had this. I was this huge football fan with nothing to channel it into. And one day, my brother said to me, "Oh, do you know Sutton United are in the first round of the FA Cup playing against Kidderminster Harriers?" And I thought, oh, they're in a higher division. I thought I'd like to go to that. So I went, and I've barely missed a game since. So that was in 1995. I just got hooked.
Mate. What do you think? You said it was around the age of 13 that you discovered you had this kind of love for football. What do you think that was?
This is really weird, actually. This is not going to be the same for most football fans. I'm autistic, and I love things that kind of line up in sets.
Sure.
And it was my thing when I was a kid, to calm my anxiety. I would like count things in sets and sort things into groups. And I'd look at the football league tables, and I'd look at all the clubs with their different logos and their different stadiums and their different colours, and and I used to look at the league tables for hours, like in fascination. So I was into football before I'd even watched football.
Yeah.
And then I started watching football. I was like, oh, this is fun. I like watching this. So yeah, I'm probably not like most football fans.
No, I don't think any. I think we're all unique in our own way with how we come to support our football clubs, and yours is beautiful, where like you actually support your local club. I think that's so nice. So I'm an Arsenal fan. Were you there when Arsenal played Sutton United was that the FA Cup?
Yes, it was. I mean, if I'd said no to that, no one would believe me. Of course I was there.
Yeah, because I was going to say, when you say you've barely missed a game, it would be so typical if it was one like that.
No, I couldn't miss a game like that.
Yeah, and so how is your experience? I want to kind of eventually get to understanding how you came into the Her Game 2 campaign and how you found out about it, but how would you describe your experiences as a female fan at with respect, like a lower league club as well? What was the kind of atmosphere like for you when you started going on the terraces?
This is tricky, because when I first started going, it was obviously quite a long time ago. Yeah. Coming up to 30 years, it was a different time. But also, I was a teenager then, and now I'm in my 40s. So it's going to be different experience anyway.
Yeah.
So I found when I first started going, I found that the other supporters, like especially the older supporters, not older, but kind of, like the age I am now and older.
Sure.
They were quite protective of me.
That's
I was
nice,
accepted, like it was like I was a member of a family, but they were quite protective, which sometimes annoyed me, because I was like, I don't need being looked after.
You just want to fly like on your own, right?
Yeah, yeah. But also, I did find that there was some sexist chants. I remember one time a friend and I walked past some opposition fans, because the difference between, say, you going to Arsenal and me going to Sutton in the 90s, I could walk all the way around the ground. The home and away fans were all mixed in together. We'd swap ends at half time, walk past each other. And me and my friend walked past some of the away fans at a home game, or vice versa, and they started chanting some absolutely disgusting things. I'm not even going to repeat them here because it was really vile. It was about us having certain diseases, and I was just kind of shocked. I was like...
And how old were you roughly when this was going on?
Probably about 14, 15 at the time.
That's a lot to take in.
Yeah, and I mean, those guys were quite young as well, but that's not obviously not an excuse, but it might have felt even worse if they were like older guys, but I've had that one as well.
Sure.
So in a way, it's kind of trying to say it's like, you know, like at the big games when you do still get sexist chants, but they're kind of like a large section of the crowd, and they're kind of part, according to those guys, they're like part of being at football. So it's in a way it's less personal, but it's still just as horrible.
I know in a backwards way. I know what you mean. It's it still shouldn't be okay.
It's not okay either way.
Yeah.
But when you're like on the ground and they're looking at you and there's just you and there's just a handful of them, it kind of feels more direct, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course.
I've kind of been around with both of those things because I've been to big games as well, you know.
Yeah.
So you feel, I think if you had like hundreds of people chanting at something, that would freak me out big time.
Yeah.
You'd feel like you're not in a safe place because everybody here is chanting this. They've got all these people ganging up on you almost.
Yeah. And how did you experience? Oh, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, but then with the smaller crowd, even if it feels kind of one-on-one, and that's really disconcerting as well.
Yeah.
But I've never felt really unsafe at Sutton because it feels like my family, and there's always people there that I can go to and go, did you hear what that guy said?
Do you go to away games?
Yeah.
How's that experience for you now?
Now, there's not been a lot recently, and I think like it's also a combination of me being older and also things having moved on a little bit in the last 30 years.
Sure.
But obviously her game 2 wouldn't exist if they really moved on. So it's still out there. But there was, I mean, like 2 seasons ago, I think it was, I went to an away game, generally travel by myself because I've got a lot of commitments in my life and I can't always line up with other people. So I travelled to Swindon by myself. I was at work in Oxfordshire that day, so, you know, that was easy.
Okay.
And I happened to bump into a friend of mine outside just as we're about to go in, a guy. And I walked into the ground with this guy. We went to look for our seats. And this man who was already in there, he muttered in my friend's ear as we both walked past, "Don't bring your bird to football."
Oh, bloody.
I was like, really?
And this was literally like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And the funny thing was, that guy, he obviously hadn't been going to Sutton for long because I'd never seen him before. And like I said, I've been to practically every match since the mid-90s.
Yeah.
I'd know him if he was at games. And I'm someone that like the club officials know, that everyone knows.
Yeah,
Sutton.
Of course.
But to me, I was just your bird.
Did you like? Did anything get done about that? Like, is that something that was reported or yeah?
Well, I said to my mate, "What did he say to you?" And he wouldn't tell me at first, and then he told me, and I just went marching back to this guy, and I said, "My friends just told me what you said," and I told him, you know, I've been watching this team for however many years. He didn't bring me. I brought myself. I'm an adult. I can bring myself to football. I don't need a man to bring me. Don't be standing there thinking that women only come to football because men bring them, because we've got every right to come here. And he goes, "Oh, right, I don't need a lesson." And I was like, "It sounds like you do, because you don't understand that just because I'm a woman doesn't mean I can't be a football fan." He goes, "What are you going to do, report me?" And I was like, "That's a great idea. Yeah, I'll go and do that." I tried to find a way to report it, but I couldn't actually find a way to do it. And then the game started, and I kind of put it from my mind after that. So actually I didn't end up reporting it, but only because I couldn't find a way to do that.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. And I guess that it's these unfortunate situations that have happened that led to Her Game 2 being born, right? So what's your kind of journey with Her Game 2? How did you find out about Her Game 2? Tell me a bit more about that.
It's probably on Twitter.
Okay.
Probably like the original campaign. I was like, this is a great idea, and I shared some posts. And over the sort of next year or so, whenever I saw the posts, I'd share them because I could relate to the experience. I totally agreed with the idea behind it. I was like, I wish we'd had something like this years ago, because I'm old now and I don't get so much hassle anymore. I go to home games with my kids, so I don't get.
That's nice.
I don't get a lot of it anymore. But yeah, I did a lot of that, and then I can't remember exactly how it happened. Someone commented on something I'd shared. I think it might even have been Kaz.
Okay.
Like, why aren't you an ambassador? You'd be great. It's like, well, the only reason I hadn't signed up was because I just didn't feel like I had time to dedicate to it.
Sure.
But then, like, people kept saying to me, "You should be the ambassador for Sutton." And I think it was Kaz at that point. You said, "Oh, you'd be a great ambassador. You should sign up. Here's the
That's
link or whatever."
great. Literally being the ambassador for the club you've been going to since the 90s. And can you
Yeah,
tell
I'm
me a bit
proud
more?
of that.
So there'll be some people listening to this that won't even know who her game 2 are. And they won't even know. Some people who know who her game 2 are won't even know what an ambassador does. So can you tell us a bit more about, for people that are new here, what is her game 2? What is her game 2 about? And then can you tell me a bit more about what you have to do as an ambassador?
Well, in a nutshell, her game 2 is a campaign to tries to eradicate sexism within football and in fact other sports now, but it started with football, and to promote women in sport as well. So a lot of most female football fans, according to the surveys, have experienced some sort of sexism as football fans, whether it's at sexist chants and shouts and things like that I mentioned earlier at matches, or on social media, or even down the pub where guys don't let you talk about football unless you can explain the offside rule first. That sort of gatekeeping. So just we're just trying to call out things like that and fight them, and get clubs aware and to spread the word. So that's what the campaign is. The club's ambassador is basically somebody who is the main link person between the campaign and their club. So I'm the one who will talk to Sutton United about putting on a dedicated fixture where we promote her game 2 at one of the matches each season, and like, for example, have the players warming up in shirts with the logos on and doing things like that to just get the word out there about the campaign.
It's raising awareness, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because the more people that are aware, I mean, people who are doing and saying sexist things, they don't care about any campaign. They're going to carry on doing it. We want male allies as well.
Yeah.
Because they don't listen to women who tell them to shut up. They'll listen to other men who say, actually, you're being a bit of a you-know-what.
Yeah, it's sad, but there's an element of truth in that, to be fair. So, male allies is definitely something that I know Kaz has been speaking about as well, trying to get more people involved that can share the word. And yeah, I think that's what everything is about in terms of raising awareness, right? One thing I want to ask is, obviously, you're a Sutton United fan, you're the ambassador. There's many reasons you can be proud of your club, right? And I think one of them is what you want to touch on today, the story of your club's manager. Do you want to tell me a bit more about that?
You're referring to our women's first team manager, Lucy Clark.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing I'm very proud of is that my club's very inclusive. We have been for quite, ever since I've been involved. We've always worked on being open and accepting of everybody in our very diverse local community and beyond. And we've been trying to kind of, very recently, actually, we've been trying to do more things to bring in people from different backgrounds. And one thing that I think is really quite nice is that Lucy who was appointed last season as the women's first team manager. She's been a Sutton fan, I think, pretty much for all her life as well. Lucy also happens to be transgender. Obviously, that's not why we appointed her, but it kind of shows that I want us to sort of fly a flag to say, everyone's welcome here. And at the moment, sadly, there's a lot of stuff in the media basically ganging up on trans people. Sure. And trying to there are people out there who want trans people to go away. Let's be clear about that. I'm not going to beat around the bush with that one.
Yeah, no. Did you not? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think an extra sort of challenge for me as her game 2 ambassador. We're already fighting against sexism, but the sort of discrimination that Lucy's often on the receiving end of isn't only sexism. It's also transphobia. Yeah, because as a woman, she can be on the receiving end of misogyny and sexism, but as a trans woman, it's also,
of course, it's coming from 2 different directions then, isn't it?
Exactly.
And yeah, I'm sure we'll touch on a few things in terms of prejudice that she's faced, but what was the general reaction to her appointment when it was announced within the fan base?
from Sutton fans, it was like, yeah, great, okay. We mostly knew Lucy as a referee because she'd been
Okay.
reffing for years and years, and she was
Sure.
quite well known as a ref. There was a lovely news article about her being the first transgender referee in the world, which was great. I mean, she's a trailblazer. I love her. I'm
Yeah.
really proud of having a trailblazer at my club. So, and also we know her as fans as well. She's actually the admin for the main fans forum and has been for
No way.
years. No, right? It's not every day you go to a football club and the team manager is posting about their fixtures on the fans forum. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I can't imagine Mikel Arteta doing that on our Discord or something. that's brilliant.
I love being a Sutton fan. You know, it's
Yeah,
just a sense
that's
of
great.
community. It's brilliant. But yeah, the fans' reaction was really positive. Unfortunately, it also got you know, on social, when it was posted on social media, the wrong sort of people ended up posting.
And they tend to be the faceless accounts on Twitter, and I'm guessing that was the type of people. It wasn't people within Sutton's community.
No, these were people who knew nothing about football or about Sutton. There were things like, oh, this person is keeping what they thought of as proper women out of the job. And I was like, how many do you think applied?
Yeah.
Of course they don't know. None.
Yeah, that's it's really sad to hear that still happens, and I think this is the thing with Her Game 2 being so prominent, because like you hear, so obviously you're an ambassador, right? And when I did the last podcast episode with Leah, she was saying that I think there's 74 of the 92 clubs partnered with now, and I think that's the thing. Like, hopefully it eventually gets to 92, but in terms of raising awareness, I think that's, well, I'm not even going to give my opinion on it. How do you think you can go about continuing to raise awareness and, I guess, double down on these horrible experiences that people have, like Lucy?
I think we just keep talking about it. Just keep on talking about it and keep on standing firm, because, you know, if I heard anything, even a hint of transphobia at my football club, I'd be down on that person like a ton of bricks. You don't stand by and let it happen. That's the thing. It's easy to do that, but in this sort of case, if you stand by and let something like that happen, you might feel like you're doing nothing wrong, but actually you allowing it to happen is what allows it to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
If we keep not saying anything, then those people go, oh, that's okay to keep doing this then, isn't it?
Sure.
And then we never move on.
No, well said. And would you say, has Lucy's experience kind of shaped or influenced Her Game 2's direction? Because I know the original campaign was around like specific sexism, right? Whereas now you're looking at like the LGBTQ community, and like, has that influenced Her Game 2 and what they're looking to do at all?
I mean, I suppose everything that we come across does, in a little way. Lucy hasn't been with the campaign for very long. She was only appointed as our manager advocate sort of towards the end of last season. In fact, I think we announced it on International Women's Day, which is really nice.
Ah, nice time.
So yeah, she hasn't been with us for long, but I want to sit down with her and talk about what we can do to kind of see. I want to make it really clear that when we say we're promoting women in sport, we're championing women in sport, we don't just mean women who were assigned female at birth. We mean all women.
Yeah.
And I think I want to shout that a bit louder than we have been.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I guess that feeds nicely into the next question in terms of what are the next steps for you within your role at Her Game 2? Is there anything you'd like to kind of get stuck into and promote?
Don't ask for that just as the season ends, because I want a break now. But,
okay.
But no, we haven't done much with the women's section yet. We have mainly focused on the men's first team. Obviously, the reason for that is because that's where most of the sexism against female fans is. There isn't much of that at women's football.
Yeah.
In fact, the sexists want us to just go and watch women's football, not men's. So we haven't really focused on the women's, but we want to do a dedicated fixture next season for the women's first team. Lucy is so enthusiastic about that. She's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I really love that about having her on board. She's just really up for everything. And
Yeah,
she's like,
that's great.
anything you want me to do, just tell me and I will do it.
That makes your job so much easier, I bet.
It really does. It's excellent. And we've got another advocate as well, Emma, who's also fantastic and very enthusiastic as well. So between us, we've got a nice little team, and hopefully, because until last season, I was kind of on my own. I didn't have a Her Game 2 team at Sutton. It was just me.
Sure.
Now there's three of us. We can achieve a lot more.
Nice.
So we can put our heads together and think about kind of new and original ways to promote the campaign within our club.
Nice one.
So we'll start with the women's fixture and we'll see where we can go from there.
Brilliant. And with that in mind, for people listening that are allies, want to become allies, what can people do that are listening to get involved and help and kind of continue to help raising awareness? What can allies do to support this campaign?
Well, you could become a Her Game 2 advocate if you're kind of in a position to do so. There's information on the Her Game 2 website about how to get involved. I'd say spread the word, kind of share social media posts you see about the campaign, because it's just the more people that see it, the wider our reach will be.
Yeah.
And people may sort of see that haven't heard of us before and think about the experiences that they have, or someone that they care about has had, or that they've witnessed, and think, oh, I want to do something about this as well.
Yeah.
So
I think
just shout about it.
Yeah, and even obviously not trying to go full like podcast host on this, but sharing these episodes. If there's anyone that you're listening to this you think is going through a tough situation in terms of going to football, being discriminated against, share these episodes, because we're trying to keep these kind of bite-sized, nice, chunky, consumable bits of content that hopefully resonates with a few people. And it's a different way of promoting the campaign and sharing awareness. So nicely said. I think the big message is just keep talking about things and get involved if you're in a position to be able to do so. Final couple of questions from me. So, sorry, go on. I feel like you're about to say something.
I'm sorry, Clayton. I was just going to add something to that, which was another thing that's really, really important that people can do is if you witness something, either you're at a game or if people are down the pub watching football or online, and if you witness something that you think, that's a bit sexist, didn't like that, or if you experience something and you're like, it was just a little thing. It was just a little niggly thing. I don't even know if I'm right for thinking that was wrong, but I'm just uncomfortable. The littlest things build up into something big, and that's why our culture develops, and that's why it's ingrained in the culture, because there's little tiny things like that. So anything like that, please just tell us. You can go to the Her Game 2 website and you can report it through that. And even if it seems like a stupid little thing, even if it seems like nothing at all, you can't over-report, honestly.
No.
You receive the report, the campaign leads they'll receive the report, and if they thought, oh, that's not really sexist, then what are they going to do? Phone you up and tell you off? No.
No. So what actually happened? Because I'm sure there will be someone somewhere, sadly, who's had something happen to them where they've been discriminated against, but they probably don't feel safe to report it, as sad as that is. What actually happens once you kind of go through that process and you report it to Her Game 2?
You can do it completely anonymously, and nobody will know who it was.
Yeah.
But what if you do leave us your details, then someone can get in touch with you and basically they just offer support. Like there's been instances where people have reported things to the campaign that they were really upset about, and the directors, they're a fantastic bunch. They really are. They're so lovely. They're all such really lovely people, and they really genuinely care, which is why they run this campaign. We've had them like getting free stuff sent to a little girl who had something horrible. The boys did something horrible to her, and she's been sent stuff. They've been given like experiences, like tickets to games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying we give out free stuff to everyone who complains.
No, but it's something.
But it's just an example showing that this is like, we care. We really, really care. We want to support you. We want to know about these things so that we know how to tackle it, and we know where we need to direct our efforts towards.
Yeah, nicely said.
It's not just going to be ignored.
Yeah, and to paraphrase what Kaz said on an episode, if you're listening to this, go back and listen to that first episode with Kaz. But unfortunately, there was a situation where a young girl was getting bullied in school. She actually got her arm broken through, I think, a targeted shot of a football, let's say. And then long story short, I'm sure she was a Bristol Rovers fan, and they she got invited to go and kind of spend the day with the team and stuff. So like there is good that can come out of these sad experiences, but you need to report them to raise the awareness and help eradicate these things. So yeah, on the final couple of things, let's end with some highs. What would you say have been some of the rewarding moments for you personally since joining Her Game 2?
Oh, there's so many of them.
I know
But
it's
do you
hard to
know what?
narrow it down, right?
Absolutely. I think the best thing is that I feel part of something big that I can be really proud of, because we exist to do good in the world, and we work really hard to just move the world on from the place where it's at, where it needs to be. We need to be, as a society, a little bit better at not pushing women out of things, whether places where we've every right to be. And this sense of community within the campaign is absolutely amazing. I've made so many good friends. People, it's so supportive. I feel like we've got like a WhatsApp chat for Her Game 2, and it just feels like a really safe space where you can go and talk about anything that's on your mind. It's just such a lovely little community, and being part of that not only makes me really proud, but it also brings me a lot of sort of comfort when I need it.
Oh, that's
It's
so
really
nice.
lovely.
Yeah, and for anyone listening to this, if that sounds like a community you need or want to be involved in, like Sal said, check out the website, get involved wherever it says an advocate, potential to help in the ambassadors teams. There's always a place for people that want to help. So, Sal, this has been a pleasure. Thank you very much. It's nice of you to come on and kind of tackle some tough topics and just cut through it and just be transparent about everything, because I think that's the best way that you can raise awareness. Just cutting through the fluff and raising awareness on really tough topics that people are still sadly being discriminated against in this modern world. So it's getting better, but there's still work to do. So thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Likewise, Clayton, thanks for having me on.
And like I said earlier in the episode, if this is something that you've enjoyed, if you resonate with the message of Her Game 2, the campaign, what we're all about in trying to eradicate discrimination and both sexism, but all forms of discrimination fundamentally, please share the episodes with your network, share it all over social media, because that is one of the many ways that we're trying to raise awareness. So on that note, we will get out of here. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, Sal.
Cheers, bye-bye.